welcome to our very first Critical Listening with Sam Drumlo. I got my guy here, Rick Shotgun. How are you doing, RTC?
Good. How are you doing? It was weird. I'm not used to being on right away. I'm glad I wasn't doing something stupid.
Yeah. I'm glad you weren't picking your nose.
Yeah. I got 5 minutes while I does a spiel. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. You know, my wonderment is am I too loud? Because I've been trying to adjust the audio. Something happened, between last episode and before, where my audio is too loud. Am I too loud in the chat? Beatsmith Bedore's in there. Dash Chill's in there.
Elena,
Ellen,
Leo.
music. Yeah, man.
Our little brother, Leo, the
Little bro, Leo.
little Italian brother.
Between the two of us, me and RTC, how's the audio? If you guys can let us know in the chat, that would be good. So I can kind of move my mic further away or...
This is time for you to critique us.
Yeah, time for you to...
Yeah,
this is
before
what
we critique you.
Audio's good. Okay,
Good.
That's good.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right. Tonight's pretty interesting because we both get a lot of messages, am I right, Rick, from the audience, and they message us and different projects they want to do, different ideas, and one of them, one of the cats from the community, relatively new to the community too, which kind of shows you how fast you can kind of just boom right in if you got a cool idea and you've got the talent to do it. Al's a little quiet. All right. One of the cats hit me up and was like, hey, I would love to work with you guys in some capacity. What can we do? We kind of talked back and forth, and through those chats that we had with them off camera, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Dank Reborn. So then we find out, man, this is a cool cat, and he's got a lot of talent. He helped me with some of my music, and he throws. We've been wanting to do something on the off Sundays for a while. Anyways,
Give you guys a little bit more,
Yeah.
There's only so much we have to give. We have to let other people help spread the love.
Absolutely. This is a community-based project, and he's like, well, shit, man, maybe this is something I can do on your off Sundays, and this is something he was already doing on his own, but we'll get into that. But he was kind of he had this going. And so I'm like, yeah, man, this sounds like a good idea. The rest of the crew met him and they're like, let's bring him on, dude. We'll do a series of, critical listening sessions. And this first one here is with Sam Drumlo, the cat that, kind of came at us with the idea. And without further ado, I'd love to introduce you guys, if you don't already know him, the man, the myth, the legend, Sam Drumlo. There he is.
Wait, do I get the macaw?
Oh, wait. Okay. There you go.
What's going on, everyone?
Or did you want this one?
Yeah, that one.
That one.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, guys?
So this will be very interactive, right? Because once you jump into digging into the beats, which we'll do in a minute, but we want to talk to you for a minute. If you're in the session and you submitted a beat, you'll be going back and forth with Sam directly, different ideas and things you could do with your music. Keep in mind that while Sam's going to be sharing his screen and kind of going through the music aspect of it, me and RTC, we're going to figure this out, but we'll be in session with him on the next one. But this one, we're going to pull ourselves out because the audio starts to do this loop feedback shit. We'll figure that out later. We're a garbage truck on fire, but we're rolling. You know what I'm saying?
Still make it happen.
That's right.
I love that.
Sam, so talk to us a little bit about your music history. How did you first dive into making beats?
Oh my God, that's a great story. I think I'm one of the what is it? I'm blanking, but COVID. Yeah, the COVID producers.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I was always a big music fan. I always prided myself in being just big into digging and knowing underground artists. And one day I saw somebody post something about Cookin' Soul track or Cookin' Soul tape that came out. And I looked up Cookin' Soul and I noticed he was in his bedroom, and I never knew that was the thing.
Oh, okay.
I was like, wait,
Oh,
I could make music? And that's it.
so this was literally 2020, start of COVID.
Yeah, is that 2020
Yeah.
started COVID? Yeah, 3 years ago, almost today.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Beat wise and sound wise, that's impressive, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Just a couple of years.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. So I just went on a rampage of just I just couldn't get enough, and have devoted myself almost all my free time to making beats, finding my sound, connecting with other producers like you guys, community, helping people, getting help. I just went ham for the last 3 years.
And you've already put out a couple of releases, some cassettes.
Yeah, I think, let's say we did the first community. So I put together a community tape, Fright Night or Halloween Fright Night, I think. And it's pretty much a Ghostbusters theme. So it's got little snippets of Ghostbusters all through it. It's pretty cool. So we put that out for Halloween. Then we did Cartel Tapes, Volume 1, which is just a bunch of my buddies from Discord. We put together another tape that I mixed, mastered, and kind of just, I call it executive production. So I put everything together and stuff, yeah. Then I did with a buddy of mine who's in the chat, I believe, I don't know. Oh, Dank Reborn. That's his name on stream.
Yeah, he says, man, sounds like he's been in the game for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dank's a very talented producer. He's helped me a lot. He was my first friend in the music scene, actually. And yeah, him and I put out a tape as well, Great Expectations. Then we did another one. So in the last 5 months, I think 4 tapes, 4 or 5 tapes. No?
Damn, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, just getting those reps up. For sure.
So even in that time, I mean, speaking of, seeing Cook and Soul doing that. So you've helped some people out there that everyone knows their names, like Cook and Soul, and you've helped them out as well, correct?
Oh man, yeah, that's a great question. So Cook and Soul has been a good friend and mentor. So I reached out to him years ago, like, hey, I want to be friends. And so finally last year that gained traction when he started streaming, and I started participating in his battles. And then he said something about Discord, and I'd been around Discord for a while now. So I said, hey, let me help you like admin or be a mod or whatever. So he took me up on it, and I helped him build most of his Discord, and I think I still am one of his main admins on his Discord. And then I got I got a little bit of exposure to him and just chatting with him, and he gave me a lot of good tips and stuff. And so I never helped him music-wise. We did throw around some art ideas, cover art ideas. I'm a big AI guy. But whenever music, he encouraged me to go like full ham on stuff, but I mainly helped him on the back end with Discord.
Same thing with Sarah Too Ill as well. You kind of helped her build her Discord as well.
Yeah. She's such a cool homie. Same thing, right? I just reached out like, hey, I want to be friends. I geek out. I respect her work, and then got a hold of her. She got me the keys to her Discord, and she also helped me out with some marketing and how to brand myself and stuff like that. And then one day she heard my my music. She's like, "Wait, how do you do that?"
Yeah.
So I gave her a couple of gems on the mastering side. She was like, "Whoa, like what? How do you do that?" So that was pretty cool.
That's kind of the moral of the story. There is if you reach out, shit might happen. You know what I mean? You just kind of have to put yourself out there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. These are human beings just like you and I. So just like
you
guys
said, I mean, you saw Cook and Soul. He's just doing it, in his bedroom. It's like, they're
right.
Not all of them are just like us, but
right.
Yeah,
a lot of them are just
he's
like
a freak
us.
though. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like
Everybody
that was.
Go ahead.
No, that was like so empowering to me, and I think that's something I've tried to pay forward of empowering other people. To be honest, as cliche as it sounds, like I just want to empower other people to like a little bit of a DIY mentality, if that makes sense. So Cook and Soul to me was like this god, which to this day I still respect his art a lot. But reaching out to him and talking to him was very empowering because he told me, dude, go full ham. Like, stop even doing these battles. Just go. Like, be a professional engineer. And I'm like, what? Like, I never thought I could.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it just gave me that fire to start putting stuff out.
That's one of the things about the Beatcast is like we've sort of avoided starting out as like this another battle series. It's like we've always kind of geared ourselves more towards a community showcase kind of thing. Like, let's hear what you have. Almost like the sessions that graffiti writers have when you get together with your black book, and you're just doing black book sessions. Like, let me see how you write. Let me see, what techniques do you use? What kind of paint do you use? What kind of caps? It's the same shit for beats. Because I find that so far, you end up drawing in people who are super positive, and like, you kind of like family oriented. And like you, even when you were hitting us up, you're like, man, dude, I'm just looking for like a crew. Like I want some like, some fucking people so I can circle the wagons. We got, the family going. And that's kind of what this shit is about. That being said, we do have a battle coming up.
With all that being said.
Yeah.
But that's later. First you family, then you fight. More about that
somebody
later,
somebody the other day corrected me and they said that these are not battles, they're showcases.
About us?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so
I think
was
we've
like,
probably
cool.
Yeah, we've corrected people and each other probably on the show. It's like, oh wait, no, we're not battles. We're, it's a showcase.
Right.
I've had some of the heads hit me up that are like super. Oh, the connection's kind of getting crazy. You guys okay with your connection?
Yep.
Connection.
Yep,
Okay.
You're looking good over here.
We've had some people come in that are super spicy. That'll be like, "Yo, I'm coming for the crown" and all this kind of shit. And it's like, there's no crown, man.
There's no crown.
You know what I'm saying? There's no crown. But yeah, I'm glad you found this community, man, and kind of like reached out. And I'm glad that it's working out. And the thing about you, man, is I could tell. See, for myself, like when we were first chatting, I'm like, well, let me see how this goes. Like, what would this look like? So I'm like, Sam, help me with one of my tracks, because I'm quick to admit that I don't know shit. I get away with some stuff here and there, and I just play by ear, but I don't really technically know what I'm doing. And fun fact, I'm stupid. So like, I'm like, I have a hell of a time like reading shit and then applying it. I'm just not good at that. Going way back to like even the early thousands, like one of my buddies who would actually be on this series with us, Kordek, he's such a smart guy. You remind me of him a lot. You two are kind of alike, super cerebral and able to like read and apply or just understand shit. So anyways, I noticed that about you. Like you've already figured this shit out, and you had a great way of explaining to me like I was 5, like, okay, here we're going to do, go ahead and add this. Now we're going to do this. And I just followed the steps. And then at the end of it, it was like, I don't know if it was a compliment to you, but I'm like, oh, I'm saving this. Like, this is better than the mix I had. So I hit save, and that's where now I've got this like this chain basically. You tell me what the word chain means. That's how dumb I am.
Oh, right. You're like, what do you mean chain? I'm like, mastering chain. I had to like, it's okay.
Yeah. Every time you said it was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being you took kid gloves. You were like, yeah, no, it's all right, man. Fucking who cares? And we get to the end, and I have a better result. Now I'm using your end chain on all my beats. I adjust a little bit here and there, but you kind of gave me the way. I appreciate that, man. That's pretty awesome. So,
man, that's awesome.
That's
it's
what's
awesome
cool
to
about
hear.
this series, that you'd be able to do this for other cats that want to, and maybe they take something from it, and maybe they don't. And you even said yourself, like some people, when you're coming into this kind of a session with them, they might already be almost there. So maybe it's not as drastic, but especially if you're like not hip to kind of like EQ and mastering and shit like this, it's going to be a huge change for you. And that's where I was at, honestly. Like you were like, dude, what you want is, and you're using the terminology. You're like, you want more brightness. You want more resonance. You want this, you want that. It's fucking awesome. So I
was even making fun of you the other day on, when I said it's called space. I was like joking, I think it came out off a little harsh because it was over text, of course. But I was like joking, I'm like, yeah, it's called space. Like what you're hearing, that's wonderful in the in one of the beats there. I was like, yeah, it's you're generating space. And it's like, but it's cool. I'm really psyched about it. I'm really grateful from you guys. I mean, I'm sure everyone wants to get going and wants to hear what we got, but like, I'm really grateful you guys giving me the opportunity to expand both your community and be part of your community as well. So I see a few people that joined Dank Reborn. I saw That's Chill. Filth is also in part of my small Discord, but still part of my kind of crew of buddies and friends that we exchange music all the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's all about geeking out on this stuff. I mean, like Dank Reborn earlier, we were talking about like settings on the SP compressor. And he's like, dude, check it out, and sends me a picture, and I'm like, oh, this is what I do. And then I'm like in the shower, hopping out of the shower, looking at, so you got people like us geeking out, and I think it's time for for us to share the gems as much as we know, and then and also receive obviously from others, because I'm 100% open to learning. And I'll say the last thing before we get or turn it over to you guys, the hardest part, because you mentioned that there may be some people who share. The hardest part is actually analyzing tracks from people who are better than you. So like Phil Spector, for example, one time sent a beat, and I'm like, this is so good. It's hard to not fanboy over the beat.
Yeah.
But I have to keep objective and just listen to it and see what I can add as a buddy, as a friend, whatever.
Yeah.
So same with Dank Reborn. He's like, amazing. Like, I think has done this for years. If you guys hear his stuff, you're going to freak out when you hear his music. And, you know, and I still find a way to like bring him up just a little bit, you know? So
Absolutely. Yeah. Filth is insanely talented. Man, also, thanks for
You're
subscribing.
making me blush.
Yeah.
what's up?
He goes, "Oh, stop! You're making me blush." In the
No,
chat.
he's the man. He's the man. We actually I have one of his tracks that I'm mastering. It's already mastered and it's coming out in a tape here in the next few weeks. So
Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
yeah. But he's everywhere, dude. Filth is everywhere.
Yeah. He's
He
busy.
submits everywhere. I love it. He's busy.
And he's
man.
got his own thing, his own
Yeah.
competitions.
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm gonna cry. Stop."
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for subscribing too. That goes a long way to supporting the Beatcast. All this shit costs money. If you're watching this live or on the replay, the chat is up here. If you guys want to kind of tap in with where the audience is at as well.
Right.
Oh shit! There we go again. Some
Al
100 bits.
Nimbus. There you go.
Thank you for the bits, man.
All these buddies of mine, man, are coming through. I love it.
Awesome.
Very cool.
EC, I think he just popped in as well. EC's a good friend of mine. He's cousins with, oh man, I don't want to mess this up, but one of the main Flip a Beat Club guys, Mons Rock.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah. EC is one of his friends out of the Bay Area. He's awesome, man.
Awesome. Well, shit, let's turn it over to you. And I know some people submitted through our Discord. You can find that at thebeatcast.com. You just go down, hit the Discord button. You'll see a section called Critical Listening. And in there, you can submit tracks, WAV or MP3, and Sam will kind of take those, download them, and work with them. And you have kind of a set to work with. What's up, Tatsumaki? So without further ado, me and RTC are going to get out of the way since we don't have that audio situation fixed up. And we'll kind of turn it over to you, Sam, and let you do your thing. Go ahead and share your screen. And we'll pull that up.
Let's do it. So while you guys are still around and while I'm presenting, I do want to say a few things for those of you who did share. Is this. So first and foremost, thank you so much. I know it's very hard to be vulnerable and to share your music, whether it's done or not done. I totally get it. I myself hate sharing music, period. I like literally post and ghost and turn away and never listen to it again type of thing. So those of you guys who did submit, thank you so much. I am going to take what I believe is as an objective view at your music and just keep it really high level, keep it really effective tips, if you will. But it is, at the end of the day, subjective. It is my taste as a engineer, as a producer. So if you like music a certain way differently, that's okay. You know, all respect to those of you guys who did submit. I want to say that big disclaimer before we start.
Absolutely. Gotcha. Right before we get into the session, we got to thank our sponsors.
The Beatcast is brought to you in part by Mixwell Worldwide, the turntable and lifestyle brand going strong since 1997. Patreon. Our patrons directly support the Beatcast. Choose a tier that works best for you, like merch, exclusive sample packs, as well as a direct shout out in our live shows. Patreon.com/The Beatcast. Picking up some new equipment? A portion of anything you purchase through our Zounds affiliate link, located on our website at thebeatcast.com.
All right. So we're going to check out these tracks in order by which they were submitted. I'll try to get through as many as possible. I may make some small adjustments, but really going to talk about the technicals, and you will see me pull up a few of the meters that I use. Both of them I think are free. So let's just get started. Let's get going. So the first beat is by Alan. It's called Touch. I won't go through the whole beat, but I'll just hone in on the main parts of the beat and just give it a listen. So let's go. Wait a minute. Just give me 1 sec, guys. I thought I had my volume set. All right. So first thing, I'm gonna stop real quick. I'm using Ulean loudness meter. I'm not sponsored by Ulean, but I do preach it. It's a free, great loudness meter. One of the main things I'm looking for here, if this is going to be hitting Spotify and hitting streaming platforms, is I'm looking for it to be on the integrated. I'm looking for it to be around -8 to maybe -9. I know there's some controversy around it, but that's what I'm looking for to be competitive in terms of loudness. This is way louder. So, and then the other thing is the true peak max. I definitely don't want to be above 0 here, and I aim at being somewhere around -0.5 to -1. So -1, let's call it -1 and -8 to -9 LUFS. So it's a little louder than I'd like it to be commercially postable or commercially, in streaming platforms. They're going to turn it down. They're going to compress it. They're going to do weird stuff to it. So that's the first thought. Let me listen really quickly for more, and I'll start giving some advice. So another thing that comes to mind is I do like how laid back the drums are, especially the snare. But I want you guys to think about what's going on with the kick and if you're really feeling it. So I'm not really feeling the kick personally. It is a taste thing. Levels are very much a taste thing. But what I'm going to do if I was to start tweaking this track a little bit is I'm going to be looking to bring that kick out a little bit more. And I have a feeling that I know why this is happening, but I'll go over that in just a sec. All right, so this is another great plugin really quickly that I'll go over. So what you're seeing here is Span. Many of you guys may already know it. It's essentially kind of EQ visualizer. That's what you're seeing, the spectrum here from 0 to 20K. So for my taste, style music, analyzing hundreds, if not over 1,000 tracks for sure, I seldom see tracks have any information north of 20K in terms of frequency. I usually see a taper down around anywhere from 10 to 15K. So that's something we're going to look to fix in the EQ and really tighten up a little bit the high end, because the high end starts kind of masking some of the other sounds, if you will. So check it out. Just looking at the frequency, it's like so wide. It's really hard to have much focus, if you will. So check out the frequency. So the two things I checked so far is loudness and just the levels overall, and then frequency. Let's check this out. So really cool track so far. Let's start tightening stuff up. So before I go into actually making changes, we'll do 2 more checks. Okay, guys. So again, really quickly, loudness meter, then span, just to see what are we working with? What does this look like? What am I hearing, if you will? But then I usually put things in mono. I love putting the whole mix or the whole master in mono, just to see if some things are being lost in mono, if you will. Because when you have stereo output, you hear everything and you think, oh, it's nice and lush. But then when you put it in your car or you put it in regular speakers around your house, you're not going to hear the same thing than when you have these really nice high-end either monitors or monitor headphones. So let's hear it in mono. I got to give him a lot of credit, though. It still sounds pretty balanced in mono. Usually you'll lose something, so you may lose like the snare. It gets like tucked under everything. It sounds pretty decent in mono. I can't lie. It does sound pretty good. So let's start tweaking stuff. So first, let's listen to just the low end. And the low end is going to be anything below 250 hertz. Okay. I would want a little bit more tightness on the bass. Some of those bass sounds are getting like a little muffled, so it's sounding a little boxy. And I'll talk a little bit about how to adjust that. And then now let's hear the mid or the highs. So really bright, but nothing hurting my ears. So that's okay. And then now mids. And the mids are where you should really fall in love with tracks. So you should hear the mids and be like, oh my God, that's so good. That's where most of the fire, or the fire now, but like just the heart of the track comes from, in my opinion. I've heard other engineers say that. So okay. So nothing is terrible. It's just going to be some subtle adjustments. I would definitely tweak down or tighten down the loudness, but I'm not going to mess around with the loudness in this one case that much. But let's start first by let's start with an EQ. So I want to present to you guys the two types of EQ I'd love for, if you are not already using, to start using, which are EQ, 3-band EQs, right? So you have lows, mids, and highs, which I usually define them somewhere around, like the lows are anything below 250 and the highs are anything above 2500. But that's not a hard set rule. That's just like my settings. And then the EQ, and then mid-side EQ. So those are the two types of EQs. So when do I use either? So EQs, the 3-band EQ, I use it when I just want to raise the lows or lower the highs or bring out the mids, right? But the mid side is when I want to tighten something up. So like, for example, in this one case, I do want to tighten up the very high end. So let's look at what that looks like. I think I started the track over. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to say 14,400, and that's just an arbitrary number that I work a lot with. So don't mind me and my math, but somewhere around 15,000, right below 16,000, 15,000 is where you're going to want to start cutting off some of the frequencies. So let's do it before and after real quick. Okay, and let's turn this into from mode stereo, which most EQs have this, right, to MS, which is mono and side, or mids and sides. So I want that same cutoff at both, at the same 14,400. That's just arbitrarily what I chose for this one. So let's do 14,400. Okay, cool. So now let's think about the bass. So the highs were easy, low hanging fruit. I knew the highs needed to kind of be just tighten up just a little bit. They would take over otherwise. Let's look at the bass. I am questioning whether the bass on the sides should be that loud. So let's check it out. So see, as I start sweeping out some of the lows, and some of you, I don't know if you can hear, but I'm hearing that it's kind of tightening up the bass notes, because the bass are now being super wide to like tightening up a little bit. I'm not one of those guys that says bass should always be in mono. I'm just saying we should tighten up a little bit and take away some of these like 40 hertz, 60 hertz, 80 hertz. Some of those we don't need those frequencies to be really loud. This is a gentle EQ though. It's not like a harsh, like hard brick wall EQ, if you will. So let me just listen for it and see when we should take it out. So here we just hear like a lot of stuff on the sides. And here gets a little bit more concentrated in front of us. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just going to arbitrarily say 122. Why do I keep repeating numbers? Don't ask me. I always put 1440 or 122. I don't know. It's a little weirdness that I have. I'm actually going to bring it up to 144. Okay, cool. So let's bring the whole track in now. Four. And out. A little tighter. Okay. Last thing I'll show you guys on this track, and then we'll add some compression and go on to the next track, is I usually like to find, first in the mids and then on the sides, I do like to find where there's the sweet spot of the song in the mids and where's the sweet spot of the song in the highs. And the way I do it is I sweep around just like this on the mids. So let's do that. All right, so I'm just gonna guesstimate somewhere around 400 or so, and I'm only gonna bump up about, I don't know, we'll do 2.2 decibels again with the point, and we'll do pretty tight Q. So I'm just giving just a little bit, or even 1.1 decibels. Let's just give just a little bit of a bump there. And then what I'll do is whatever, let's go look for where we need to bump the sides. Okay, so somewhere around there makes sense to me. So the first one I did at 400. Now this is a little hack I'm gonna share with you guys. As you very well know, if 440 is A4, which is A, the note A, then 880 is A again, and then you keep doubling that, right? So usually I try to go in intervals of whatever the number is. So in this one I did 400. And although this math isn't going to be perfect, I'm going to do 1200 on the sides. I wouldn't say it's a hard set rule, but I'm around there. So I'm just trying to kind of make sense musically, like what's going on with the frequencies. And so you guys don't have to geek out that much, but just kind of sweep around, just look like on the mids, where does it sound good? And on the sides, where does it sound good? And so I found a spot that I think sounds pretty good in both. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to take away on the sides what I added on the mids. So what I mean by that is so if I added at 400 on the mids, I'm going to take away on the sides. So again, I'm doing the opposite just so that those mids come through a little bit. So at the same frequency, I'm just going to take away 1.1, so minus 1.1. All right. And you may ask, why am I listening to the same part of the song? So I looked for one of the more loudest parts of the song, and I started playing it there. So I'm usually going to want to mix and master around kind of the louder parts of the track. So I've done, I think, all the EQ corrections I wanted to make. So again, the main things, I shaved off some of the high end, and then I shaved off some of the sides here. So this is only the sides. This is not affecting the mono signal. And that's why it's called the mid-side EQ. And I shaved off a little bit there just to kind of where it sounded tight and a little bit more mono. And then I bumped one frequency on the sides and took away on the mids, and then the opposite. You can see here these little waves that are kind of crossing from each other. So again, just find one frequency that sounds good to your ear, bump it about a dB or so, and then take it away on the sides and vice versa. You don't always have to do this. It just simply always usually sounds good for me. So we'll do a before and after really quickly before moving on. This sounds a little distant to me. I don't know, it sounds a little smoother to me, a little bit closer, if you will. Last thing I'll do is let me add some compression. I think this is super over compressed, but I'm just gonna see if I can bring those drums out just a little bit more. let's do a little before and after really quickly. I just applied a compressor. Probably not the right time to add a compressor there because this track's already super loud. Probably losing some dynamics, but let's see if it works. So before. Yeah, so it's a little smoother. Again, just a few tips there with EQ, compression. I think this one, I probably would get away from the compressor and just apply the EQ if I only had this file. But if I did have all the stems, then I'd probably just bring down that loudness just a little bit. Sounds just a little bit better, but all the credit to Alan. So Alan, if you guys want to hop on again, all the credit to these guys for just Alan, really good track, really hard to analyze, to be honest with you. But yeah, I really dig it.
You're absolutely
that
right
was
too.
I missed whose that was. I was trying to figure it out the whole time.
I compressed the shit out of it too. You're absolutely right, because what had happened was I compressed it going out of machine using that compressor, and then because I don't know what I'm doing, I threw it into like Ozone 9, and then did like another thing with compression on it, so it was like blown out basically at that point. It was all maxed out, and you're absolutely right. Yeah. What you said in the very beginning, they didn't reject it when I sent that out to Spotify, but they did do all kinds of crazy shit to it, and it doesn't sound exactly the way I want it.
Yeah. You'll want to maintain the dynamics, but be somewhere around. I would be -8 dB max. Like if you ever see the meter go into -7.9, then back it off just a little, because then from what I understand, their algorithm then will pick up just a little bit, so then they'll turn your whole track down instead of like that one part that maybe made it spike a little. So.
Well, I love
what I loved about that, it was so subtle, but it made the biggest difference. It was less airy, it was tighter. Because I mean, you could see the compression was already on there, but just messing with the EQ, if you get a track like that has a lot of compression already, just that magic you did with the EQ. And I'll admit, all the years I've been engineering, doing stuff, I've never dove in and done the mid-side EQ like that before. So I learned a hell of a lot just in the last few minutes.
Oh, awesome, man. That's good to hear. And to some of you guys that may use other techniques, I'm always open to hear them like geek out on in the Discord. So let's have those chats and tell me like, oh, you could set up the EQ this way or that way. This is just one of the techniques that I learned that just works so often that I try that before,
and I love that. Like, I'm sure everyone else was doing what I was, but in the background when you were going through the analyzer and the loudness maximizer, like I went to the websites and I'm like, have them up right now so I could download them after this, because I have spectrum analyzers and I've used the loudness ones, but I've never seen one with the loves on it before.
Oh yeah.
Which I've always gone off of DB, so it's kind of cool to see one that has an end. It's free, so that's one I'm gonna start using that one.
Yeah, for sure. You do want the Ulean one. All right, let's dig into the next one. I'm excited.
You're very good.
Thanks.
All right, let's keep it running.
All right, guys. So we're back. Let me share my screen again. I wanted to focus on those guys. So Phil Spector is next. I have 2 tracks for Phil. I'm gonna move a little quicker because last time I was explaining a few things, but this time I feel like I don't have to explain like what the Ulean loudness meter is and all that stuff. So let's just get right to it. All right. I love filthy, man. So good. All right. Oh, sorry, I looped it. All right, so let me find a spot, okay? Let me just find a spot real quick. So good. Drums, everything. So good. Okay, cool. Phil, let's see. On the Ulean loudness meter, you're hitting around -11. That may be on purpose. Some people do master to lower, and I respect that. But following the same logic, if I do want to get this track up to -9, -8 LUFS, I am gonna mess with it just a little bit, okay? And I'll show you guys what I would do. But before I go there, let's do the same thing, the same treatment, right? So I would go to span first and foremost, and you'll notice here you see green and then red underneath. So the red underneath is the signal of on the sides. So it's the stereo signal, and then the green is the mono signal. So you'll see what's happening on the mids and the highs. This is, by the way, free span. Download it if you want to have a conversation with me and you want my coaching in the future, which I'll plug in a little later. You definitely need span. You definitely do need Ulean meter. I don't care what else you're using, whether you're using Machine, Ableton, FL, I got you, but you need those two. Okay, so cool. So you see how the mids here, there's a little red poking out. Generally speaking, right, this is actually really good. Some people will have more red peeking out, meaning the stereo signal is louder in that one region than the center, and that generally speaking leads, and I'm not an expert in this, but I think it leads to phasing issues. So good job. I would probably turn down those frequencies just a tad, just on the sides, to make sure this doesn't phase out or do anything. I don't hear phasing, but and you see his track does this really well. It's tapering down up here. That's pretty good. Okay. Love it. Okay, cool. So a few things technically, I would probably like the kick to come through a little bit more. That's one thing, just as a taste. I do like the profile of the kick, that it's like just muffled and kind of underneath everything. But just saying, Filth, I would kind of want that. The second thing is we still have some space for airness, so a little bit of air on the high end. So here we can still afford to add a little more. And in the bass, I think we can add a little more, but not the kick. So let's play around with it. All right, so let's see in our EQ what we do, what sounds good. All right, so let's put it in mono first and foremost. I'm sorry, I'm not even following my own order. Yeah, see, in mono it tells a different story. The kick and the snare sound great, but some of the instrumentation in the mids are kind of getting jumbled up. I don't know if that's even the right word, but it's just like it's all kind of in the way, which is cool. It sounds like cool, messy, but we'll try to gain just a little bit of clarity before going for loudness. So, all right, and then let's go to lows, mids, and highs really quickly. Okay, yeah, we would want some more definition on the low end. Okay, see, so the mids are a little low. They're, yeah, I would definitely want that to come out more. So we'll try to find that in the mid-side EQ. And these, I would want them to spring up a little bit more, like more air. Okay? All right, cool. So, yeah, let's go mid-side EQ. Let's do it. Okay. So let's start with the mids. Sounding warmer. Yeah, around there sounds good. Cool. So I think somewhere around there sounds okay. I could make a case for somewhere in the 400s, but we'll just go with this. And I'm going to add 2.5 dB there. And let's see the sides, where I want to add on the sides. Yeah, somewhere around there. So what did I do on the mids? So on the mids I did 645. So on the sides I'll just do double that, right? 645 times 2 is 1290. And see, I pulled this little pin to 1300, so I'm like right there, right? 645 times 2, right? 1245. Yeah, 1290. And it just happens that that's another sweet spot, you know, double the first frequency. I don't know if that's a thing. It feels like a thing to me, so we'll just go with it, right? Alrighty, so I'm actually going to leave that alone. So I'm not going to take away anything from the mids. And let's see if I take anything away from the sides. Ooh, I actually like these frequencies. I'm tripping out. Right? It sounds warm though. I could be dead wrong in doing this, and I almost never add stuff like this, but it sounds pretty good to me. Right around, let's call it 330, and we'll just add just a little bump of 1.1 dB. Okay, cool. Let's take off some from the sides again, from the bottom up. Cool. All right, and then let's add some air. Let's see if we add air on the... ooh, there we go. Yeah, that's pretty good to me. Sounds pretty good. I don't know. Yeah, great beat, man. Great beat. This is sick. So EQ wise, sounding pretty good to me. I bumped the highs a little. I haven't done too much so low. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So again, guys, I won't get stuck too much because I do want to keep it moving. But I will say, playing around with mid-side EQ and seeing what sounds good, you know, just little notches here. Don't go above 2 dB. I would keep it around there, like 1 to 2 dB plus or minus. And then soft, gentle, like just be subtle in how much you take and add when you're dealing with the whole mix. All right, so with that being said, let's go to see what we can do with the compressor. So now we're hitting somewhere around 10 dB. Or 10 lux. Cool. Sounding pretty good. Let's do it before and after real quick. So that's before. Okay, definitely a little bit more dynamic, right? Okay. So I'm trying to keep it really simple and just using EQs and compressors and not geek out too much on like crazy you know, VSTs and plugins that you're going to have to pay a ton of money for. So just using your EQs and your compressors is important. Here's where you can use, I would expect you guys, well, I would suspect you have a limiter of some sort. So here's where you can use a few things, right? So I suspect this track isn't mastered, so I would say EQ, compressor. Maybe I'll add a little bit of, let's see. And almost all DAWs have a version of this, so I don't want you to think you have to have Ableton if you want to work in this, with some of the things I'm talking about. But I would use a saturator just very lightly. So I'll add a bit warmer saturator right after the compressor. Or is that the one I like? Whoa, that went crazy. No, that's not the one I like. That's too much. Mid-range fattener. Oh, that's crazy. So we'll tame it down just a little bit. Let's take off a little bit of juice here. Okay, and we'll just add a saturator really quickly, and what that does is, I won't geek out too much on it, except just say it adds warmth. So. Okay. So as you see, I tame down even the dry wet knob. So I usually take off a lot. I try not to overdo any one thing. So I added again EQ, compressor, and a saturator, just a little bit, right? I even took away a lot from the output. And last but not least, let's add a limiter, which I'm just doing everything with stock plugins. I'm not saying you can't use plugins, but I want to show you guys it's not about the plugin, right? So we'll leave the ceiling at -1. Okay, so I think I'm almost there, and we're trying to move here, so really quickly you'll see U-lean loudness meter is now way louder. And let's do it before and after. So this is before. What's that? Yep. So, yeah, why don't you guys go ahead and come on in and let's talk about Phil Spectors.
That was awesome. First off, great track. Love that.
Yeah. So good, right?
Yeah, that was a really good track. I just realized I was muted. Sorry.
I love that you brought that saturator in for that warmth because that kind of shows that, I mean, that's a stock plugin, and it shows that you don't need to get the Waves vinyl or the Waves tape, plugins and stuff like that. All those are out there. It's like the just having a stock saturator or something like that will do the same thing as, instead of paying $50-$60 for a tape emulator or something like that.
Yeah, agreed. And I do want to dispel that it's our use of these things. So one of the things, and let's just take a quick aside if you don't mind. One of the things that I did, and I pushed myself, and any of you guys that are on stream or in the chat that know me know this, that I actually pushed myself to do everything on Ableton stock plugins for a long time. I would talk to everyone, and I'd just, get, R bass or get whatever. And it's like, nope. And then I went from there to Ozone and started learning Ozone and learning how to, and Ozone got me to, I think, a next level, because a few of the things are better than I think Ableton stock plugins. And then from there, I started reaching out, funny enough, to the engineers from different VST plugin companies and figuring out which ones I want from where. So I still use one or two Ozone pieces, and then a lot of Ableton stock plugins, some aftermarket stuff. But I mean, I think Alan, you and I, we reviewed your entire beat, and it was all on Machine. And then at the end, we used some, and we built your chain out of Isotope Ozone stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you guys who are looking at Ableton like, but this guy has Ableton, drop that. It's there's a lot of marketing, like, oh, you have to be Ableton gang. You don't. You can any saturator, drop it in, dial it down. Don't get too crazy with it. Adding all the warmth with one plugin. It's just a little bit, and then that series of plugins is where all that warmth comes from.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
And then John Tape, he chimed in and says stock plugins are strong, even in the Logic has great plugins. Even back in the day, Logic had, when I started on like version 2 or 3, like the plugins they had, it's don't sleep on those stock plugins. Just because everyone's advertising all those big plugins, SSL plugins and all that. It's like you could still do some magic with the stock plugins.
For sure.
Yeah.
Phil, quick question for Phil. Are you making this on the SP? Because I know he uses SP a lot, and you can feel a lot of the magic come through from the SP.
It says, do you know if the glue compressor is an Ableton Light? I have the
Light.
Fab Filter stuff.
Yeah. Well, if you have the Fab Filter stuff, let's talk. Phil, let's talk offline, and I'll help you dial in some of the Fab stuff. Fab Filter stuff is really good.
I myself back and forth with the with the SP.
Okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of the SP stuff will give you great warmth. Filth, you may want to try also, and then we'll jump into your other beat, splitting your beat into, I think we've talked about this before, lows and highs. And I would resample using the SP with the lows and just bump the lows like 1 or 2 dB. The SP will give so much warmth. You don't need a saturator having an SP. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, let's look at Phil's second one, and let's keep it moving because I know we have a few more tracks, and I'm taking way too long on one of these. So
all good. Here we go.
All right, guys. So let's get right to it. I am moving around these tracks, so I will color code these. So green and green for the 2 that we already looked at, and I'll try to move a little quicker. So Filth, this is your second track, and let me turn everything off because I have everything on in that channel. Oh, I like this one. I heard a little sneak peek. I'm missing some stuff in here. We could definitely pump the bass right in here between 100 and 200. So this is 100 to 100. Can definitely bump that. Sorry, I started the track over my bed. Okay, cool. Let's listen to it in mono. Really good. The drums are mixed perfectly. You can hear them clearly, but they're not overshadowing the whole beat. And in mono, I'm always listening for, can I still hear the bass? And it's there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's Chill. That's Chill knows what's up. He's talking about Span. Check him out. Chat him up on the chat, because that's Chill. He knows his stuff, man. Really talented producer, friend of mine too, and one of my admins for my Discord server, or the admin, excuse me, the admin. All right. All right, lows. See, so here in the lows, you can tell, you can only hear the kick and the bass isn't coming through very loud, right? So we'll want to bump that. What about it? So here you can hear the bass. Right? Okay, cool. And then the high. Okay, cool. So again, guys, listen to each one of those bands, right? Lows, mids, highs. Listen to things in mono, and look at the 2 free plugins that we shared, right? lean meter, just look at your loudness overall and span just to see visually what's happening. Do I have really high highs? Are the lows taking over? All right, let's see what we can work with the EQ8. So I did, so I copied and pasted the EQ that I had from the other track. A lot of it is working already, right? We bumped a little bit of the highs in the other track. We tapered off the lows. Let's look to see where we need some magic. I think the bass needs some love. So. Okay, cool. And then let's see what we bump in. Sorry, I'm spitting into the mic. Bump somewhere in the mids. Cool. Yeah, right around this. Really good. Right around 500. And what do we take away? And then now on the sides, we're gonna, you guys guessed it, we're gonna bump right around here. Cool. And we'll roll off some of the lows. All right, so far we're in business. The EQ is doing wonders, I think. Wow, check this out. When I roll off 14,000 something off the sides, look at the difference. It literally makes the track almost like right in front of you, which that may be something you like, maybe you don't. This is going to be completely stylistic. Right? Makes it a little bit more concentrated. I'm gonna leave it there, but this is like at my pace. You could not, and that's okay. Glue compressor. Yeah, man. I see you on the chat. Filth. Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. It is helping the bass get much more pronounced and clear. For sure. And it's just a couple plugins and you'll see, I mean, I just put in the reps in terms of just trying to follow the same recipe and just tweaking and understanding the recipe, if that makes sense, instead of like changing the recipe too much. We'll go on all in a bit. All of you for now. Let's see what loudness we're hitting, okay? Cool. So there's something kind of like snagging up on the compressor. Like you can hear the snare kind of like spitting a little bit. At one point, I have a feeling there's not much we could do with a single file, but I'm sure if you adjusted your timing a little bit, Filth, you could definitely dial it in that timing to where it won't let part of the snare come through without the nice compression. So with that, I think we're almost done with this one. Let me So I think that's gonna do it. Just as a quick walkthrough. I mean, we could make this way, 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 way better with like a proper mixing and mastering session if Filth and I sat down and did it. But let's just listen to a track real quick before and after. This before. This after. Cool. All right. You guys want to come back in and see what you think?
Once again, absolutely phenomenal and really good track. It's funny because he was saying there too. He's like, "This is blowing my mind." It's like nothing. It's like you leveled him. You leveled him up. And that's the thing about this too. Is like you kind of have. We all have our like practices, and we get into our sort of like our patterns of how we're going to finish out our tracks. And it's sort of like safe. And you really need that constructive, critical ear to kind of dive in and show you what the possibilities are. Real quick too, before we move on. Tape John Sandoval says, Sam Drumlo, if you're good at something, never do it for free, which is a good segue for you to talk a bit about some of your services, if you like.
Oh man, thank you so much. Yeah. So, good call out. Wait, you guys come back.
Oh, we're here.
I'm joking. Okay. Yeah, let me just mute. Okay. So, I've started. First and foremost, I'll help a buddy, but I have started lending my my time to those of you guys who are interested. So if you want to engage with me, samdrumlo.com, you can go there and you can book a session with me, or if you just want to hit me up on the Discord, we can figure out payment and all that stuff. But pretty much what I'm looking to do is, first and foremost, sort of transformative session to understand how you see music and kind of where you're in the path of your music career, and just really bring it back into a game plan. And so usually the first session, which I did with Alan without him knowing, is like a 2.5 hour session, hanging out, talking about music, understanding you understanding me, geeking out, and then really thinking like, where are you with music? So someone like Alan, right, been making music for a long time, knows a lot of music out there, but may just be missing a few tools in his arsenal. So, so in those sessions, just looking to kind of get the right mindset for some of my friends and those engaging with me. I'll still always help buddies on Discord and whatnot, but it's not the same than actually drafting a plan and seeing where you want to go long term with your music. Even if it's a DIY approach that you're not looking to buy too much gear or VSTs and just want to make good music, that's okay. Hit me up at in the Discord or on Instagram or samdrumlo.com if you want to schedule a one-on-one coaching session. Or if you want to send me your tracks and you want me to mix and master them for you, I do charge on a track by track or project by project basis. But I think I get a lot more out of coaching and mentoring and helping than I do doing a single track, for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I loved about the last few tracks from Al's and Phil's first one, they were kind of on the same wavelength as far as the sound. And then that last one you did with Filth was more of a punchier, funkier one. So it was cool to hear the difference between the two different styles from those first two and that last one. And just to hear like just the way you brought out that bass, and then you really added some more punchiness to the snare too, and like you were able to shape it for that style of music, and that kind of shows everyone that it's not a one thing fits all. You kind of have to play around like I get lazy where I just think I have my saved settings, I just go with that. That's what I do. I'm like, this will work for now, and this has got me thinking, is like, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board and mess around a little bit more, spend some more time.
Yeah, it's all good. It's part of it. But I'm really excited to check out these next tracks and see what you guys think, what we do with them.
Let's keep it running.
All right. Okay, next we have Leo. Yeah, I remember this one in the preview. I reviewed these tracks a little bit. I turned them down, by the way, to not lose my hearing. All right. I want you guys to notice, and Leo, I want you to notice the difference in loudness of the overall track. And forget the meter, just what it feels like here versus here. So that's cool. I love the loudness and the sound here, but this part sounds really low in comparison, right? So a few things there, just from a comments perspective, before we even go into metering, is definitely think of automation and just kind of automating through your sound. So if there's a lot of different, how can I say, composition. So composition changes where there's like something else that comes in, definitely account for that in automation. So in this part, if you want some of the sounds, right, you want them to be a little louder and more energy, because here, right, in beautifully, but just think of loudness. Cool. Okay. So I do like this track. The loudness is there, so I'm not going to do a lot with loudness. I'm seeing in the meter as we're going around -9, -8 or so, -8.5. So I'm not going to mess around with loudness too much. My thought is, if you guys notice, and I want you to take back to this, to this part, is the drums are sounding a little far away, which is okay on some of the mids and highs, but like the lows, I want this thing, like what I desire out of this track, this is a stylistic thing, of course, is like this heartbeat hitting me underneath, not like far away. The kick feels far away. Check it out. Like yeah. And that's okay. We're going to bring it out. So let's hear in mono real quick. Okay, so not a lot of width in the track, at least in this section. Let's see you later. Okay, so couple thoughts, and I know I'm skipping around, but oh, Tape's asking, what if it's supposed to be that way? Tape, can you, sorry, I just looked up at the chat and I didn't notice that before. What is exactly, are you referring to this track, or are you referring to another track that I was talking about? But okay, so while Tape gets back to me, I do want to say this. So in this track so far, one thing that I get out of these tracks is there's a lot of moving elements and so on. I'm sorry, Tape. I apologize. I missed your question earlier. When you hear a lot of these elements coming in and out like that, you definitely want to use a lot more compression and really want to create almost like a sound chamber. You want to feel like you're inside of something, and these sounds come in and out almost cinematically. So one of the things is this glue compressor is going to be my friend. So let's see what I can do with it real quick. So there's going to be something in this track, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but something that we're not going to be able to fix, but I can definitely give a feedback here for Leo. So Leo, in your kick, I love the kick you're using. It's, if I had to guess the shape of it, it's like a really square, fat kick, right? It's not like a quick clicky kick. So so I would maybe add another kick underneath it for the click of it. Okay. Yeah. Now, in terms of the loudness, by the way, tape, I got clarification on what you were asking. If it's meant to be lower and higher here. So what took me by surprise was, okay, I can totally get behind like something being quiet and rising in sound completely. Like things don't have to be like the sausage of sound the whole time. But if you notice in the transition here, it was a little jolting. Check it out. I think with automation, we could do a better job of like the ear shouldn't, like, check it out. So your ear's like in low frequencies. Okay. And it just all of a sudden it's in your face. And hey, it might be a stylistic thing. That's why we said, you know, with all this feedback, it's free feedback and it's objective, or I'm sorry, subjective, and it could be just cool. I would definitely fade that in a little bit more, and level out a little bit the loudness from before. That's all. That's my feedback. So what you'll notice here in this kick, and I was talking before about the profile of the kick, is the kick right now is really in this low end back down here, and it's not doing a lot here. And check out when I bump around 100 hertz, what it does. I actually like that. I like that presence of that. I really like it. So you'd have to see like whatever the bass frequency is that you're playing. Like if you're playing in G, look around G. So I think G or G sharp around 100. So yeah, G sharp like 101, 102. So yeah, I'm up there. Cool. And then let's see what we do on the side. Cool. Sounds good. And I think I want to warm up the lows. So this saturator, instead of a bit warmer, there's another saturator. It's a preset, but that is called warm up the lows. You guessed it. So audio effects, dynamics. No, where are we? Saturator, warm up lows. Warm up lows. Yeah, that's better. Okay. All right. So far, let's think about what we've done. So I'm looking to bring out some of the sounds on the lows a little bit more, and I'm looking to give presence in some of the areas. Again, using EQ carefully. It's not the only trick I have up my sleeve, but it's definitely the theme that I want to drill home in today's stream. So EQ, there's another way or another technique I love, which I can totally show you guys too, and it would make, I think, a big difference on this one. But let's stay the course for a second and see where we can take this one. Let's see what the limit. Okay, so let's do a quick before and after before we keep going. Let's just focus on this first section. So So this was before. Pretty good. A little bit more live. So in a track like this, again, lots going on. Very difficult just to mess around with a track when it's already done, right? Because this is already mastered, it's already hitting -8. So I'll give the feedback. I would definitely mess around with the levels a little bit more and just be conscious of your composition of the levels as you swoop things in. And let me show one more trick and then we're going to move on, okay? So when I have tracks like this that I can't just like with single plugins do something, I like to divide the track into two. So I duplicated the track. I'm going to paint them here red so you guys know what I'm doing. So the tracks in red are the same track, right? I'm going to do a blue and a red. How about that? So blue is all the highs, the red is all the lows. So on the all the highs, let me duplicate this, copy. I just don't want to lose the stuff we've already done. So we'll copy that. And so what I'll do here is I will simply, with an EQ3 or a 3-band EQ, I would only have the lows going and only have the highs going. Right? So you'll notice the highs are the blue and it's just going to be the highs, I'm sorry. Right? And then the red channel is going to be only the lows. And this is something that is very prominent in, especially in hip hop production, of splitting highs and lows like this, where you duplicate a sample. And when the guys come back, I'm happy to explain a little bit as to why we do this, but let's just try it out. So I have in one channel, just the highs, everything above 250, and the other channel, everything below 250. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to treat the lows different and the highs different. So let's only treat the lows really quickly. Okay. Okay, a little clipping there. Okay, so that's the highs. And we're gonna bump. Let me zoom in here so I keep messing this up. Okay, so lows are good, and I'm gonna throw a saturator in just on the lows. Okay, I'm getting it to bump, however, by taste. Okay, and then now, what about the highs? Right. Cool. And then I'll add its own saturator to the highs, and usually these saturators come with a preset, right? So, choose a preset, and here it says warm up highs. It's pretty easy, right, in Ableton. But in yours, it may say more air, or it may say something like that, which is essentially for saturating more of the high frequencies. So it's a little bit brighter, the hats. You see? Okay, I do like that. All right, so we saturated the highs, saturated the lows, and then now we're going to bring them together in one bus, which is called a mix bus, where we mix both the highs and the lows in this group here. And then that group, I will add the compressor. Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry. To the lows, I'm going to add a compressor on its own. So just to the lows channel. And this is something that you guys should be experimenting with. Again, splitting up your bands and looking at how to essentially manage each of those differently. So like, what do you do to the lows? What do you do to the highs? Do you add a limiter? Do you, things like that. So let's see what we add. So bass punch. Yes, please. Hold on, let's just hear the bass. Okay, that one's okay. Ooh. This one makes it way more aggressive. I like that. Okay, so I got a bass low extender. Again, if I was in a regular session, I'd totally tweak these to death, but for now, I'm just going to go with low hanging fruit. Sounds pretty good. Don't overthink it. Let's go. I am going to, no, actually, we'll leave the limiter alone. And let's go. All right, and last thing I'll add. So I have the compressor here to kind of wrap it up. And then are we going to add a limiter? Yes, we are. Let's add a limiter to the very end just to make sure I'm not adding any problems. Yeah. Okay. Ooh, it's a little louder than I thought. Okay. Okay, cool. So last thing, let's do it before and after real quick. So let me show you guys the before and after. So let me color it differently. I love color schemes. So purple or kind of pink, fuchsia, if you will, is the before, which I will turn everything off. And then the after is going to be this white thing that calls itself group. Before, pretty good. After. Before. After. Okay, cool. All right, guys, come on back in.
Nice, man. That's an
really
interesting
challenging
one.
track.
Yeah, because Leo, he doesn't fuck around. He does some wild stuff, when he gets in there. Yeah. I was wondering how that was going to go. And that was a good question. Like John's asking, like, what if it's supposed to be that way? That's an interesting, like, how you address that. Can you go a little bit further into that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, again, all this is art. It's stylistic. So it's all on your approach. So one thing that's really interesting and really important to understand is in tracks, loudness and dynamics. So you could look at dynamics two different ways. So dynamics meaning the quietest part of a sound and the loudest part of a sound. You can think of dynamics in terms of at the same time. So like while all these drums are playing, maybe the loudest thing is a snare, while in the background there's like a little hat, right? And it's all happening at the same time. But you can also look at the track dynamics overall. Like what's the quietest part of the track and what's the loudest part of the track. And so some people try to emulate recordings, right? Like, I don't know, the Beatles or like old school funk and stuff like that, where you would get live little nuances that were really quiet, and that's cool. But then when you're making a track like this where there's a transition, you have to be very aware of where loudness goes, right? So you have to be looking at a meter very closely and automate it. If you're going to have like -10 loudness or so every 10 decibels, it's an exponential line. So like if it's 10 decibels less, it's like to the human ear, it's perceived as like 100% louder. So it's like you're doubling the sound just by bringing in this one synth. So you got to be very conscious of that. Or also bringing the synth all at once into stereo, maybe a lot. So just a tip to, in general, maybe not just to Leo, but just in general, if you want to be a little bit more savvy with your tracks, just be mindful when you bring elements in and out, what the loudness of the track, the perceived loudness, your ears. So hopefully that answers it.
And I mean, if you put that in a rock music perspective, where you know, if you look back at the bands like Pixies or Nirvana, where it was like there was that whole loud, quiet,
right,
style, it's like, even though, yeah, the verse was perceived quieter, if you look at it on a spectrum, it's still actually the same volume. It just feels lower. So it's still about reaching that, you know, that certain decibel where you're not struggling to hear it, or it's coming in and just blasting your ears. It's still the same. It feels louder, but it's not killing you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's all a subjective thing, but it was, I mean, I'm putting myself as a listener when I'm listening to a track, and all of a sudden this one synth comes in and it's like really bright and loud, and it's like, okay, like I'm looking at that from that lens. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we have enough time for maybe one more, but the good news is if you submitted your tracks to the Discord under the critical listening section, they're still there. So like when we do this next one on the In-Between Sunday, we can still hit those. So we'll get them all and just, keep loading them, because, if you liked what happened here tonight, jump on the next one. You see there was a lot of good feedback, and I think it's critical information that we need. And it's a good thing to do for each other. This shit's the kind of, it's like when you're in the wild and the animals pull up on you and they start digging little ticks out of your back. You're like, you don't want this. I'll eat it. You know what I mean? That's what this is.
That's what this is.
That's what this is. All right, let's keep it running.
All right, cool. I'll try to move a little quickly so we can get one or two in. So let's see.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
Right.
Lightning round. Here we go.
All right, lightning round is on. Woo! Love this one. All right. So far, and this is a lightning round. Love it. I'm just going to turn the track 2 decibels down just to not have to mess around. I was kind of fighting with dynamics earlier when I was trying to tweak the tracks a little bit. So I'm going to turn it down to -2 so that I'm right around -9 lefts.
Real quick,
Yes.
no audio on this one. I think something maybe adjusted. Can't hear it.
My bad.
No worries.
So far, I love this track. One thing that I think about this track is so nice width. The loudness is definitely there. I turned it down by 2 dB. So I went to the actual wave file and I put -2 on the wave file. And I'm going to do a couple tweaks just to see if we can improve it, because it's a really good track already. But I will say one thing. So the drums are lacking a little bit. So what I would implore you to do with the drums is definitely add a little bit of either saturation or drive. Depends. Maybe even a little bit of light compression. So let's see what we can do though. Yeah, so see, I added the glue compressor there, kind of same thing, slow attack, fast release, low ratio, maybe 4 ratio. So before and after, just listen really quickly to the dynamics on the kick, on the kick and snare. So just listen for kick and snare before and after. So glue compression in general won't geek you out on it, but essentially here what we're doing is the entire mix is going through a glue compressor, and what it does is usually it accentuates some of the peaks, if you will, or some of the peaks. So slow attack, so that way the compressor is not squishing really quickly. Fast release, so it just lets it go. So slow attack is just compressing some of the other sounds, but it's letting the peak through first, which is kind of some of the magic you may hear on some SP compression, which is you let the peaks through first. All All right, so with that, I got a little bit more of the dynamics. I'm hearing a little bit more of the punch. Let's see what we can do with an EQ and then call it a day. Okay. Wow. So it's really interesting. So this track is the only thing I'm seeing here on the sides is just the, I don't know if I think I didn't mess with any settings. And the only thing I'm seeing here is interesting. Interesting. So the track, the sample is in mono, which is okay, but you know, interesting. Okay. So yeah, so that is, I mean, it is a technique that some boom bap hip hop employs. It is challenging to master a track like this without any width from the sample. It's okay, but just saying it's a little challenging to add any width. But let's see what adding width would look like by just adding in Ableton. It's called a utility, and so let's see what it'll do. Okay. Well, yeah, that's so weird. That it's all in mono. Well, I mean, I don't know. I didn't notice those in mono before, but okay. So we did glue compressor, a little bit of width, a little bit of EQing. Let's hear a before and after and see if we're in the right track. That's before. Passes the ear test. And okay. The only thing is we are now passing this true dB peak, which means you're going to get really messed up in Spotify. So let's just add a real quick compressor to limit any peaks above 1. Okay. So I think we did an okay job. Let's hear the before and after one last time, and we'll bring the guys back. Before. Cool. Come on, guys. Come on back.
Yo.
Yeah, I like that because even with just the little bit you did there, it added a lot of color to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just little subtleties, right?
Mm-hmm. I was throwing it in the chat there. I was saying I don't mind asking the dumb questions, but what are the advantages of having your audio mono versus stereo? And like, when is it a good idea to choose one over the other?
Oh, man. We can wrap up on that idea, actually.
Okay.
Instead of going through a last track. Let's talk about it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, by the way.
Okay, cool.
And so, yeah, let's talk through it. So some of the advantages of mono, I'm sorry. So modern music is pretty wide in general. So we're used to these big stereo kind of fields nowadays. So if you want to sound fairly modern, you want to sound wide. If you want to sound a little bit more vintage, you want to sound a little bit more narrow. But then for people who are wanting to use some of that vintage feel but still like make modern music, like modern boom bap, for example, you want to have certain elements in mono and certain elements be wider. So an example of that, in your mix, I may challenge you, if we're starting to work together, Alan, to put some of the things in mono. So like a guitar, put it in mono, and then I want you to put it in space wherever you want. So pan it to the right, pan it to the left, pan it kind of to the left a little, and but in mono. So that sound is not spread out super wide and not clashing with other frequencies.
Okay.
And so when talking about stereo field and imaging to folks, I, the people that listen, I always ask, put a lot of things, like use a bunch of one shots, for example, in Machine, and then just put all of them in mono and just place them in different places, because the result is still going to be a wide sound because you have all these different sounds or samples, right? Horns over here, guitars over there, drums in the center, bass kind of in the center as well. But none of them are going to clash. And that's one good way of starting to think of mixing as far as positioning in the stereo field. Did I answer your question? Because you asked about the advantages and disadvantages, and I think
you did.
That
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'll see people react to like a track being, or a sound being mono or stereo, but it makes a lot of sense because if you're going stereo and you pan it off, you're still going to get a whole bunch of it in the other half of those, that sound. Sam, dude.
Yeah.
This was excellent, man.
Yeah, this is awesome. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I do these a lot. Not exactly in this format, but I review tracks, probably 2 to 3 tracks a day from buddies and friends. And I had today a couple. Dank Reborn sent me a track, and other people in the Discord. So I think for you guys, if you are part of Discord, dig into the community, go into the Beatcast Discord, start dropping tracks in there, start asking questions, because these guys, RTC, Alan, myself, we're not shy to answer the questions we do know and give some feedback. So that's an excellent way of learning, and don't be shy. No ego. Yeah. It's all about the music.
That's kind of what brought us together, is the fact that this is an egoless space. It's a bunch of like just cool ass people, kind of. And there's plenty of room for everybody. There is that old school vibe of hip hop of sort of like hoarding the secrets and not wanting to share your knowledge with people, but that's bullshit, because honestly, rising tides raises all ships. I can't say it enough. So, and if you want to get better at something, you want to teach somebody something. You know what I'm saying? And once they learn it, they got to teach somebody something. You just get better by teaching. It's just kind of like a process, man. It's just like a domino effect. But thank you for your time tonight, man. I'm excited for the next one of these.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I hope more people submit early, right? Because if not, we don't get through all of them. We spent 2 hours. I try to move quickly, but still, I want to give the love to the people that showed up first, right? So
yeah, and I don't think like people who submitted didn't get theirs played. I mean, you still learned a lot from this, no matter what. And remember, we're going in order. If you post them in there, if you didn't get played this time, it's going to get played next time.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll definitely keep track. Which ones. I will be sending out, by the way, if you guys have like a few more minutes, I will be sending out. I will be sending out the tracks as I mixed and mastered them, if you will. We did a rough patch, right? Because I only have like the single file. Some of them are MP3 and whatnot. Yeah. So I'll still export them. I'll post them in there and send them to the folks. Just you can use them. You don't have to use them. It's up to you. But really excited to keep answering questions. I do want to work with you, Alan, and RTC in terms of any educational content we can build over time, or just like cheat sheets and stuff like that. But I think it all starts with a discussion. So let's keep this going in Discord and in Instagram, and just I hope you guys enjoyed as well. I had a blast.
Yeah, man, you're hired.
Yeah.
Everybody else, fuck off. No.
Nah, I'm really into it. I have fun. By the way, there's things you guys do that I have no clue how I would do. So I just want to say that, like, just because I may have an ear for maybe knowing how to tweak a compressor, midside, like I listen, RTC, to your tracks on Spotify when we first started kind of like chatting for like a week, and there's some things I'm like, oh, dude, this is so cool. So there's parts of my production I'm constantly learning and reaching out to you, and I will be reaching out more and more to you guys. Alan, there's some stuff like in your track, I don't even know how to do some of this stuff. And it's true. I'm not even trying to be humble. It's the truth. Well, so anyone out there who thinks like, this is not a hierarchy in any way. It's like, we're all sharing, right?
Yeah.
So.
This is what community looks like. So a couple of housekeeping notes. If you want to participate in the next one, by all means, go to the beatcast.com, hit that Discord, join the Discord, go to the critical listening section, and upload your WAV or MP3. Don't put a link to your Spotify or your YouTube or any of that. Upload your actual track, because as you can see, he's going to work with the file itself. The next one of these, unless something changes, I'll just say for now, we can throw it out later if it changes, would be March 5th, I believe. Because these land on the in-between shows. So, and if we need to make a change, don't worry, it'll be on the Instagram. We'll put that up there, but I think that would be the case. And a couple of closing words. Make sure to go check out our Beatcast radio channel. It's on our Spotify, so you can just search the Beatcast radio and you'll find it there soon. That link will be right there on the website. If you want to be included in this, you must have participated in the Beatcast. We're big about building community, so we're not really into like cats coming in from the outside who have never really like got down with us and then just being like, here's my shit. It's like, cool, everyone's got shit, but like, what are you adding? Before you you take. So drop a fucking participate in the sample challenge, and if you already have, put your shit in there, so because we can add that to the mix of all the different tracks. And if you want to support us further, you can subscribe at our Patreon, become a patron. There's a bunch of different levels there, and I think even at the lowest level you get sample packs. This is the first one that went up, 180 sounds. It's the 1 a.m. Beatcast sample pack, and there's actually another one about to drop. I think they're almost going to be monthly. And the cool part is again, on that community aspect, the fucking community, especially as soon as we did this, jumped up and we're like, bro, I got a sample pack, nobody's buying this shit. Different stories are like, let me give it to you guys and add something to the community, and then you get a little bit of a kickback there, because it's kind of built in. So we just started our Patreon, so it's an option there if you like. You can join it, patreon.com/the Beatcast. We have a merch store if you want to support as well, so all those options are there for you. And with that, good job, Sam. This was really good, dude.
Yeah, thank you, man. That was absolutely amazing. I was blown away. Not even.
Thank you so much, man.
I'm
I'm
so
psyched.
I was blown away.
I'm psyched. I hope we get to do this many more times, many other platforms, and I hope those of you guys who did submit got a lot out of it, and those of you who didn't, don't be shy. Reach out. I'm very, 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 approachable. So those of you who we've chatted, and you guys too are. So reach out to Alan, to RTC. These guys are a wealth of knowledge. So this is the only way you get better. Don't BS yourself. Let's be community. Let's go.
And I never sleep, so
This is true.
Hey, final note: if you want the replay of this, it won't be here on Twitch. So if you're watching this live, it's going to be available first to our patrons. So if you're at the lowest tier, I think it's $2. It's like a thank you. You get access to this first. After that, you'll find it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Beatcast. So check for it there. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Excuse me, ma'am. Have you checked your car's extended warranty? I mean, have you heard of